Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Fan Perspective. I am your host Nathan Lyle, and here I am to talk about Defensive Player of the Year. Before I say anything, I must mention that these are the fan awards. I am not in any way associated with I am not in any way affiliated with the Associated Press or the NFL or any of their major sponsors, and the views and opinions are simply expressed in this video are simply those of the guy talking. Anyways, with that in mind, blah blah blah, let's move on. And here are the nominees for the Fan Award for Defensive Player of the Year. We have first J.J. Watt, linebacker for the Houston Texans, drafted in the first round of the 2011 draft, number 11 overall. And in 2012, Watt became the first player since the 1982 merger to have 15 or more sacks and 15 or more passes defended in a single season. And he is also considered one of the leaders for a young Texans defense that was one of the best in the league for most of the season. And he finishes the season with 69 tackles and leads the league with 20.5 sacks and 16 passes defended, and also forced 4 fumbles and recovered 2 fumbles. And then we have Charles Peanut Tillman, cornerback for the Chicago Bears. Drafted in the second round of the 2003 draft, 35th overall, Tillman has spent all 10 of his years with the Bears. He only has 3 interceptions on the year, but all 3 of them were returned for touchdowns, and he is second on the team with 73 tackles, leads the league with 10 forced fumbles, and recovered 2 of them. Those are some pretty decent stats for a guy playing from the cornerback position. And then you have Tim Jennings, cornerback for the Chicago Bears, drafted in the second round of the 2006 draft, 62nd overall. Jennings played for the Colts for his first 3 years in the league and was part of the team that beat the Bears in the Super Bowl. And then in 2010, Jennings signed with the Bears as a free agent and has been starting for them ever since. This season, he has 55 tackles and leads the league with 9 interceptions, including 1 returned for a touchdown. With a guy like Tillman playing on the other side, QBs thought they'd be able to pick on Jennings, but he's been proven that if you go to Chicago, it's just not safe to throw the ball. And then you have Aldon Smith, linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Drafted in the first round of the 2011 draft, 7th overall, Aldon Smith has 33.5 sacks in his first 2 seasons, the most by any player ever. Reggie White was previously first with 31. And this season, Smith finishes with 50 tackles, 19.5 sacks, 1 pass defended, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception. And then you have Von Miller, linebacker for the Denver Broncos, drafted in the first round of the 2011 draft, 2nd overall. And on a defense that features Hall of Famers like Champ Bailey and Keith Brooking and Pro Bowlers like Elvis Dumervil and Tracy Porter, it can be easy to get lost in the shuffle, but Von Miller has come into this organization and made his presence felt. He finishes third in the league with 18.5 sacks, and also has 55 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 2 passes defended, and 1 interception which he returned for a touchdown. And then you have Asante Samuel, cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons, drafted in the 4th round of the 2003 draft, 120th overall. Samuel spent the first 4 years of his career with the Patriots, where he picked up 2 Super Bowl rings. And in 2008, he went to Philadelphia Eagles as a free agent. And this offseason, he was traded to the Atlanta Falcons, where he made an immediate impact. He brought not only playoff, but also championship experience, which this defense desperately needed. And his teammates also claim he brought a much-needed element of swag to the defense that has always been substandard. And that swag has shown going up against some of the best QBs in the league. I mean, just look at what this defense has done to QBs like Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and how they've forced them to make mistakes. I mean, his stats really aren't that impressive. 34 tackles, 5 interceptions. But he's 5th in the league with 19 passes defended. And one of his interceptions was returned for a touchdown. And the main reason he's nominated is because many players within the Falcons organization credit his leadership as one of the keys to their success. And we're going to start by talking about the players who didn't win it. First of all, Sante Samuel. He's a great player, and more than anything else, it's because he did help to change and reshape the culture of that organization. He helped make the Falcons defense relevant. But as I mentioned, stats really aren't that great. And even though his presence was felt, no, I just feel like there are other people a little more deserving. And then with Tillman and Jennings, I mean, they work together in combination with each other, and let's be honest, they're on the best defense in the league. Half of that is them, but you've also got Julius Peppers, Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher up front. They've got some half-decent safeties. There are so many weapons on that Bears defense, it's not even fair. I mean, Lovie Smith did a fantastic job putting this squad roster together, and they were not there from the very get-go, and they were getting it done. And honestly, you could nominate half of the Bears starters for Defensive Player of the Year. And then you have Von Miller, and honestly, it's like I said before, he's got Hall of Famers and Pro Bowlers all over that defense. I mean, he's the one who gets lost in the shuffle. It makes it easier for him to sneak in there and make a play, make something happen. I mean, he's taking advantage of his situation, but he was put in a great situation. And much like Alden Smith, I mean, I think the 49ers, the first person that comes into my head is Patrick Willis, and then Frank Gore. And they've got playmakers all over the board, and it's a tough defense, and it's really just pick your poison. The poison that they picked was Smith, and he came through for them. And that leaves J.J. Watt. And, the reason I'm picking J.J. Watt over everyone else is just because even when he doesn't get it, when it doesn't show in the statistics, just being on the field, he changes the way you play offense. You don't want to run towards him. You don't want to throw it towards him. If he's anywhere near the ball, he's disrupting the play. I mean, even when he's not near the ball, he's disrupting the play. I mean, he's not really a big guy, but he can still take three blockers just because, he has that kind of presence. I mean, he's got those long arms, and he's swatting passes like nothing. He has created half of the team's interceptions either by deflecting a ball or just by forcing the quarterback to throw somewhere else because he knew it was useless trying to throw it over J.J. Watt. Led the league in sacks. Made a lot of plays, made a lot of things happen for himself. And the Texans, they've got a great defense. They've got great cornerbacks. They've got a lot of strong players in that front seven. But another thing that really put Watt over the top is that in his second year, Brian Cushing goes down later in the year, and Watt doesn't miss a beat. He assumed a leadership role, and he helped continue to carry this team into the playoffs. And so that's the reason I chose him above everyone else. And that's it for this week. Tune in next week when we talk about halfback of the year and receiver of the year. Those are both next Saturday and Sunday. And until then, happy Sunday. This has been The Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. Enjoy the playoffs. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a show.